All right. Welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We are here to cover the Raw and SmackDown after Mania. WrestleMania was intense. Um, and for those of you who were finally waiting for Damian to cash in, thank God he finally cashed in. Um, and essentially screwed over Drew McIntyre thanks to CM Punk. Um, so we're gonna kind of roll down the Raw card, just kind of how the night went. Feel free to chime in. So you have on Raw, you basically had. So this is literally, the day after Mania. So you have Triple H starts the show, basically kind of tooting his own horn about being the best WrestleMania of all time. I definitely do not disagree. Night one was a little bit slow, but night two definitely, holy shit, just kind of kicked us all in the teeth, literally from the gate. Um, so now he gets into introducing Cody Rhodes, as finally finishing the story, and winning, you know, Roman's title finally by Roman. Um, so what are your guys' kind of thoughts on, the Cody Rhodes finally kind of finishing the story, but where do they go from here? So Tim, what do you gather as far as like what's next for Cody? How long do you think he's even going to hold the title? Just kind of pick your brain about that.
Me personally, I don't think he's going to hold the title as long as Roman has, but I'm going to say he probably is going to hold that title on to probably maybe next year's WrestleMania.
I
Maybe
think that'd be fair.
if they make his title reign short for him, and that's going to be pretty messed up if
Yeah,
WWE does that.
yeah,
He
Yeah, barring
deserves it.
barring any injuries to Cody, I think that big challenge will be SummerSlam, and then after that, yeah, I would say the Royal Rumble, and then WrestleMania. He'll have a good season. I think they'll put him on par with Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins' most recent title run. So
yeah,
given that, yeah, probably about a year, I would say. Now, if he gets injured, tears another pec or something like that, then obviously they'll pivot and go back. But yeah, I don't see them giving him a long time with that championship. I think they'll have something stored for him pretty
well, and
quickly.
and two is that, I mean, the so most of what, the new branding and the new era of, WWE with Triple H at the helm, it's not going to be, we're not going to have these super drawn out long title reigns that just kind of go on and on and on and on and on, because basically TKO is basically, they're like, yeah, we don't really want, that's why Roman lost, because they got, TKO wants more consistent, titles being defended, not this once, four times a year, what it feels like with when, when Roman was champ. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I think nobody would disagree that Roman's reign was garbage. He legitimately just, you were always waiting for the outside interference. And so it kind of taints, his reign. Not only did he not really show up that often, but it's like every match he had, there was bloodline interference. And,
So
I'm
I I
glad.
want to
Go ahead.
I want to talk just really briefly about that. I want to say that to do long term booking and a lot less of backstage politics. I think that is a norm with when they're trying to build up this heel character. They definitely do that really get under the skin of the casual or the usual watcher, where it's like show up when they want to, this they're very infrequent, and it's more so to really tell a story of is in charge, because you see on the other side of that, with Seth Rollins, it was every other week he was defending, and every week he injured himself and still defended his championship. They didn't take it off of him. They gave him time to heal up his knee and work through the pain. Just so many different things. So I would have to say that's more of how WWE wants to tell stories, especially
Right.
when they have these massive. So maybe it'll be a shift where we don't see as much. And I would say, even if they do try to make Cody kind of a heel in his champ run, that we see Cody more title defenses, but they would have a tinge of a traditional heel storytelling.
Yeah, and I
I totally agree with him.
yeah, I mean, and then, well, the thing is too is that you know kind of the drag out of the story, with his reign, just made it that much better at WrestleMania for Cody to win it. And long term story is a good booking decision, and I think we're gonna start seeing a little bit different kind of fabricing of like the storyline stuff with Triple H basically kind of fully taking over the creative aspect of it. We got to see, we've gotten to see some NXT stars kind of come up a little more often, kind of getting more more eyes on, what NXT product is, because a lot of times people don't know who these guys are. They think they're jobbers that are coming up. And I mean, to a certain degree, they are, but they're also, NXT, and NXT still is its own brand. I mean, it's pseudo developmental, but it still is, a good, product to watch, and watch these characters continue to build, like your Braun Breaker, your Ilya Dragunov, your, Baron, some wrestlers going down to kind of rebuild their characters, like Baron Corbin did, even Finn Balor did, and so it's just a new era, and kind of, I think we're going to start seeing, in the foreseeable, we'll call it 6 months to a year, just a different format under Triple H, and I am absolutely looking forward to it. And so, yeah, I think that, long-term story booking definitely, when you have it like it was with Roman, obviously it kind of paid off. So back to Raw here. So you had, Cody kind of, talk about everything, and then of course The Rock came out, and that those segments are getting way too drawn out. I think I tallied it at about 35 to 40 minutes of a segment when The Rock came out, between basically start of show and when Rock came out and then Rock left, and then they kind of end that segment. Those segments are getting way too long with The Rock. It's taking away from the whole product on the show, and then you basically have the rest of the matches just rushed. And I don't think that's good for the talent,
It's
but
not.
I'm glad that The Rock is kind of, going back to Hollywood, and doing us all a
I
favor.
may say that it has more so to do with having The Rock on TV, because it would keep people in the product, which bottom may help Nielsen ratings and being able to sell to advertisers, as opposed to it something that The Rock is saying, like, hey, I want 20 minutes to do my thing. They're saying, like, hey, Rock, here's 20 minutes. we want to make our overall more enticing for investors. So they're counting on his star power in order to do that. So the result, what is, we get The Rock in this 20-30 minute segment, and you're like, now what do we do for the rest of the show? Everyone in the already been like, well, there goes my 15 minutes, this week or 10 week. Now it's like 5 minutes, and I got to take the L. So I can agree with the statement of these segments with The Rock that are really drawn out, but The Rock drawing them out, or is it WWE and marketing and all these other needs because of who The Rock is outside of the WWE? So I want all on The Rock, but yeah, I mean, we can also look at it, we don't even have to look at The Rock. We can look at it with we can look at it like with someone like a CM Punk, with his ability to be engaging and people wanting to see him be, so they'll give him like 10 minutes. I don't need a 10-minute CM Punk segment. I need a 20-minute Rock segment, but it's good for the future of the company.
Yeah, because The Rock is on the board of TKO now. So, like, that in combination, he kind of, I don't think he really even has a time frame. He just kind of gets to do his thing. And the thing is like you said, like, The Rock is a draw. The Rock is Mount Rushmore, so, you're gonna bring eyes to the product because he's there. And so now we're gonna have this, 3-ish months of him kind of going away, kind of leaving us a nugget of, basically coming back, maybe SummerSlam, maybe right after, to basically come back after Cody. And so, yeah, I mean, it's The Rock can pretty much kind of do what he wants, sadly, when you're sitting on the board, legitimately, like, not character, and like, no, he literally is. So, so we'll move down the Raw card. So Tim, I know you would attest to this. So it was Shinsuke versus the NXT champion Ilya Dragunov, and again, this is the thing when I talk about the viewership of NXT product, and it just seems like Shinsuke now is just losing. He's taking L's, and he's taking a lot of them.
He is. The last time when they were here for Raw in Grand Rapids, and I sat and talked to him for a couple of minutes. I told him, like, dude, you should be a world champion in WWE. I don't know why they're not doing it for you. They're pretty much screwing you over big time. And he goes, I totally agree. He goes, I ain't getting
as he should be.
He said he's getting really fed up with it. He said he'll stick around and do whatever. He said he has no problem helping new talent get pushed up, but he says he does deserve a title.
I mean, something. I mean,
because he did look at the way he was over in New Japan, man. He was really fucking great.
Well, yeah, and even when he was NXT, like, I don't want the gimmicky, goofy, red light back segment with Shinsuke. Like, I want him to return to, the strong style, because, I'm all for him putting over talent, but man, this dude has taken L after L for the last 4 months, and he'll fabricate segments out of nowhere, and he'll talk back in Japanese, and say stuff, and then he'll just create feuds out of nowhere, which is honestly pointless. But it's like all he does is basically take L's and enhance talent. So we'll move down the Raw. So you had
to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I will 100% agree. Shinsuke is being booked in a way that's disrespectful. I mean, when he was doing that Seth Rollins bit, they could have went back and forth with them exchanging the title for like 3 months, and I would have been 100% with that. Back and forth.
Same here.
Shinsuke gets it on Raw. Seth may get it on a pay-per-view or premium live as we. And then, go back and forth. I mean, it doesn't taint the workhorse that Seth Rollins is, but Shinsuke is same best, because there's not a Baron Corbin right now on Raw to be that person who takes the L's and like puts over talent. They've got to put it with someone. Unfortunately, it's Shinsuke, but that's been the flow of career. Like, he's a poor man's Sami Zayn. Everyone loves him, but because he doesn't speak English very well and he can't get over, which is a prejudice held over from VKM, they just won't give him the opportunities, and he has all the accolades and everything necessary to be a world champion. They need to pull the trigger, give him those championship runs, just like you would give Sami Zayn a solid championship run, or let him let him make that Okada money in the US. He wants to be a surfer and hang out with family. Let him go somewhere, make that Okada money, retire, but on the way out, back Brock so he can get that win over Brock, and then he's good, in my opinion. But I digress. I do agree that they're
there's definitely, and like that's the problem that we face, whether we like it or not, is that essentially WWE, our rosters are stacked. And so WWE, man, holy crap. I mean, we have, the star of stars, even from the bottom to the top, and so I think it's hard when like for instance, when they had the tag titles on one team, right? They had the undisputed tag teams, whatever, right? You have all these feuds that mean nothing because essentially, at the end of the day, people are tag teams are going after some way, shape, or form to avenue to the tag titles. And so when you basically get these people just doing matches and really there's no end game to it, right? You're just you have a couple matches, you have some semi feuds, and you don't really because now that outside of Logan Paul, now they have split tag titles, they have the championships on different people, and so now I feel like we're in again this Triple H era where we're going to start seeing more and more tagged titles defended on just Raw or SmackDown. No more wait for PLEs to do anything with it, because when Roman was champ and the Judgment Day had the titles and you had Logan Paul never show up, SmackDown was a dud show. Honestly, like SmackDown was maybe a C+ show, because if Roman's not there, there's no champ. Logan Paul doesn't show up, there's no champ, and the tag titles are not showing up. So you essentially don't have any people on there defending titles, or even just the champion showing up. And so and with Logan Paul, how do you if you want to draw his audience of people, he has to be there. And Logan Paul doesn't wrestle on regular Raw or SmackDown. He has maybe one or two matches, maybe on Raw or SmackDown. So you basically have him as a PLE champ. You don't have him as a jobber. You talk about how good Logan Paul is, and yes, he is. He's good, but he's not taking the bumps that everybody else is. Because most wrestlers are wrestling 3-4 times a week. And so, we just need to have, that lure of who could lose their championship, this week or next week or whatever, and have more of those quick story builds, to to championships, like, the Intercontinental, the United States, like, the tag teams, like, you want that, like, oh my gosh, next week, man, this tag, title is going to happen. Hey, next week, this match is going to happen. Or like, here's a number one contenders match. And then it happens quicker versus waiting, the slow build, which isn't bad in some cases, but, with the the workhorse titles, those definitely need to get more storylines and more quick storylines. But so we'll just kind of finish off Raw. I mean, Raw kind of for it being the 3-hour show versus the 2-hour SmackDown show, it definitely kind of didn't have a ton of matches. Kind of had a revamping of, Liv Morgan's revenge tour, beats the crap out of Rhea, which is pretty much, setting us up for a match at Backlash. So you had Ilya and Shinsuke, and Ilya wins, obviously, again, NXT talent. And then you also had Roxanne Perez, the new NXT Women's Champion, versus Indy Hartwell, which obviously Roxanne won. So you had Sammy come out, in typical Sammy fashion, and basically talk about the IC title. Gets interrupted by, Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, aka Baldy. And which obviously leads to Chad Gable coming out, and then basically getting a tag match, which, I like Chad Gable. I'll always be a Chad Gable guy. The dude is an Olympian, so it's not like, he's basically Kurt
Right.
Angle 2.0.
But shorter.
Yeah, but shorter. And then now you have the main event, which is basically going to who gets to face Damian Priest. And so you have Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso versus Ricochet and Bronson Reed. And then CM Punk, in typical CM Punk fashion, screws Drew McIntyre for a second time. And so Jay wins that. So, I mean, that's pretty much, at least one of the matches that's going to happen at
I've got to
Backlash.
say, if I don't get Drew McIntyre and CM Punk in a match, I'm just going to revolt. I'm just going to, because I need it. And spoiler, I need Drew McIntyre to win. I don't. Yeah,
I agree.
I am. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast, but yeah, it's a whole nother podcast. So I do like the energy that both McIntyre and Punk are having, that conflict. I don't see there being any resolution, see it being something where it could be one of those types of stories where it is just, I see you, it's on. It's nothing but business. And I'm here for that. And I'm here for Drew McIntyre winning those conflicts 9 out of 10 times. You've
Right.
got, so.
And that could be a slow burn feud and maybe
Yes.
work its way into Hell in a Cell. I think that'd be insane.
See, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. They both put on good. They'll both put on great matches. I am still going to be a CM Punk fan.
So
I will still ride and die as a CM Punk fan. I've been a fan since
it'll never. CM Punk in Hell in a Cell will never happen. Why? It's too much of a liability. Punk. You know what? Just. I don't care if they're doing the same 4 moves in a match,
right.
For the rest of eternity. CM Punk is not surviving anything where he has to take more than 5 bumps. I mean, it's just,
His body's a
I-
little old. He's falling apart there.
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, if Royal Rumble didn't, screw him up enough, and like that's the thing is what kind of got me when he came back. It's like you're old, dude. Like, it's tough, and it's nostalgia. It is pure nostalgia that he came back. I really, I did not anticipate him having that many matches. I mean, obviously we're kind of in what could have been, obviously, because he got hurt. So I don't see CM Punk. Yeah, as much as I think I want Hell in a Cell. I would love Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, but you're not gonna get it because CM Punk is
no.
he's flashing
Because
he's flashing some gray hairs, man.
Because if the Royal Rumble did happen and how he lost, no matter what, he said watched the interview with him and he said they asked him, well, I can't remember the guy's name. He's somebody that I watch a lot on YouTube. He asked him, goes, what was the plans? Were you supposed to be wrestle at WrestleMania? He goes, yes, I was supposed to go 1-on-1 with Seth. And what he goes, were you set to win the title from him? And they said no.
Which is amazing because I do not think at this point in his career he needs a championship. He doesn't need a title at all to validate the character of CM Punk. However, I just want to see him and him and Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, and then I wouldn't mind an NXT run with CM Punk and seeing what he can do to enhance the work rate of all of the talent that's in NXT.
I totally agree.
I could definitely see him as a producer and just kind of, because the dude does have a plethora, 20, 30 years of wrestling knowledge is what. And the thing is, and those are the best teachers, right? You could have, your performance center, just the people that are just teaching you the generics. But when you get information from the horse's mouth, especially from the mouth of CM Punk, I mean, that's going to influence your career moving forward just because, when you've been face, you've been heel, you've kind of run the gauntlet of character development, you're going to definitely get a ton of information, from CM Punk. And I think, that could be a possibility where maybe, we get this, we'll call it for a couple months or something, a CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud. And then CM Punk just kind of drifts to the back. And I'd be okay with that.
I would want to see, if we were fantasy bookings very quick, I want to see CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for the remainder of their careers in WWE. Here's why. Because there is history between the two. They seem to work well together and I think Drew would pair well against the look of a CM Punk. Right now, Drew is doing some fantastic character work, especially when he goes on his internet trolling spree. It's anybody can get it, and I appreciate that.
I fucking love it.
I really, yeah. So and Punk can give as good as he gets. So I will 100% say that even in NXT, I would not mind Drew McIntyre just showing up and just giving CM Punk that work, albeit gently, because Punk, you don't
Gotta
know.
be gentle with the old man.
Yep. God
Look how many
forbid
times he got hurt
something
over in AEW. I think he got hurt like 3 times.
Again, it's a whole, we could do a podcast about CM Punk. So, but we're talking Raw, SmackDown. We're talking
John Cena and CM Punk come back at WrestleMania 41.
That, you know what?
Wheelchairs.
I want that.
A
I
wheelchair match.
want those two to end their career together in a ring. I want that bromance, just so I know that, thank God, they're both. We can move on. We can really,
Right. You've gotten some
yeah,
closure.
Yeah.
yep,
Close
and
that book.
yeah, the sooner
some
the better for
brosier.
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
Definitely.
yeah,
I love the thing is too is that like like nowadays there's so much character development beyond what's on screen with like social media and everything and the like in the the shirts that Drew McIntyre has been making, which are
Oh, I
honestly
fucking love 'em.
hilarious. And so it's I love the shirts. I think honestly from a character standpoint, I feel like Drew, you love to hate him, but because it's like you don't know if he's kind of face, he's kind of heel. You don't really know what you're getting because he's kind of he'll talk about the longevity and everybody being by the fans being by him, and then the next second he's talking crap about him. So it's like you're getting this like you don't know where he's going with his character, and I think that's what makes it interesting. Um, when you have characters that are unpredictable, you know, or the ones that do like a quick change from all of a sudden they're the heel and then all of a sudden like they're all of a sudden a face, and so um we'll slide over to SmackDown. Um so Cody kicks off the show again. And I think it kind of sucks that I mean, I might see Cody finish the story and everything, but like they're solely concentrated on basically Cody going into the future, and they're not even really kind of giving Damian Priest his roses yet.
they
Um,
they did, and R-Truth presented him to him. So
I
yeah,
love R-Truth. I don't think anybody on this
yes,
planet who doesn't love R-Truth.
Oh, that dude's
yes,
hilarious.
Little
I
Jimmy.
really appreciate his.
Little Jimmy.
Yep,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think
So
there's anything R-Truth that can't do that will literally just people break character because of R-Truth. Oh, but
which yeah,
yeah. So now that we've kind of broken the bloodline, at least the saga a little bit. So you had basically the bloodline you got coming over and they're all of a sudden they're like their normal locker room and it doesn't say bloodline anymore. And I think it's just kind of funny. And I think Paul Heyman basically getting his nod of Hall of Famer, like beyond well deserved. The guy is just he can talk his way to anything. Um but And so he basically kind of talks is like, well, he's not Cody's the champ now, and so like I don't know, from what I've kind of gathered is that Roman is more or less he's supposed to retire, quote unquote. I don't know exactly when, just because you do have this um he's still getting talked about like he's still here, so he must be obviously taking a brief siesta. But um Yeah, I and so we get a basically another match. So there's basically there's a yeah. See, this is why I need to edit things out. But so you have the triple threat with LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Santos Escobar. Um, basically trying to move forward into who's going to face Cody. So you had two triple threats on SmackDown to basically determine who's going to face Cody at assumably Backlash. So you have, LA Knight wins the triple threat with him and Bobby Lashley and Santos. And when you seen that other triple threat had AJ Styles, you pretty much already written in the stars that, LA Knight was going to win. And then obviously AJ Styles won, so we can kind of run that back again. So I definitely think those two, definitely going to put on a show next week when they basically face off to see who faces Cody at Backlash. So now you have Braun Breaker, who's essentially, I mean, he's on the main roster, but he's still kind of working NXT. Basically, he gets another wash match against Cameron Grimes, and I cannot wait till Braun is fully on the show and is fully dedicated to SmackDown, because I don't care how people think wrestling is fake. If you see how fast that dude hits a spear on Cameron Grimes, that's insane. That has to hurt. I don't care what you think. That definitely hurt. And again, just another wash match. So now you have Bayley come out, kind of a little bit of re-rendering of her old music. And if you kind of caught kind of the beginning of it, it's like, has her music and then it says role model. And she's still running that gimmick. I mean, I feel like they need to kind of wash the whole role model thing away and just let Bayley be Bayley. So you have her talking, about who she talks, in regards to who she faces next. And now Tiffany Stratton comes out, interrupts her, basically thinking, oh, you're going to give an open challenge. No. So Becky basically wants to book her Backlash opponent as Naomi. Naomi comes out, basically, says, okay, Tiffany, no, sorry. And then Naomi and Tiffany Stratton face off, and obviously Naomi wins. So assumably Naomi is the challenger. So now you have, when you had the segment so Bloodline comes out, Solo, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy come out. Seems like everything's fine. Then Solo kind of takes over, and basically goes and, hugs Jimmy and says, oh, I love you. And in comes in a guy in a black hoodie, none other than Tama Tonga. And you guys know way more about this guy than I do, especially you, Tim. So you give us, who is Tama Tonga?
This dude is one SOB you don't want to fight with. This dude can throw down, and this dude is a tall boy built. This dude can do some flying ass moves. Him and his brother are both one hell of a tag team in New Japan Wrestling. They were part of the Bullet Club, and these guys can fight. And I know, and it's gonna be a little iffy because he had a little feud going on online with Roman. I want to know how this is gonna work out.
Yeah, he definitely called Roman a rat a couple of times. So
yeah, and he was doing this a lot, sticking up the middle finger.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, it's it's all family. They probably just
So
Tonga, if you don't know, he's the nephew and adopted son of what is it? Was it King Haku or?
Yeah,
I think it was.
So I know I'm getting the wrong. Getting the names wrong, but yeah. So he's a former, I believe it's an Air Force vet. He's done roughly maybe close to 14 plus years in New Japan. He's been never open weight champion. He has held New Japan tag titles with his Leo, maybe close to 9 times. Original founding members with the Rogue General, Tofale, and Gallows and Carl Anderson and Finn Balor. So there's a lot of history. They've got a lot of character with Tama that they can definitely do. And this new of the bloodline that's coming. Don't be surprised if there are more of the cousins that come into WWE. So we've got Jacob Fatu, which is one insane human being. He's about 31 years old. He smokes cigarettes every day. He can go 30 plus minutes. That's all, willpower and genetics right there. I'm just saying,
So
if he'll probably hit NXT because he's probably a little rough and he manhandle a few people, so they'll dial that back or really get that part of his character under control. And then you've got Umaga's son, who make a name for himself. Unfortunately, it started off on with Booker T down in his reality of wrestling, but I would not be surprised if within a year they get him signed as well. So this new incarnation of the bloodline, in my opinion, this is going to lead into a greater Roman Reigns story. So, I've already mentioned to you, but Tim, the overarching purpose of all of this is to make Reigns babyface without any equal. They've already made him a champion without any equal, all right? They gave him this unprecedented championship run. So it's all him an unbelievable babyface. They wanted another John Cena. He's got the look at, the character work, he's got the ability. This is all about, building Roman Reigns ultimately into another one of a kind babyface, So this part of
the
the
trouble.
bloodline saga that's probably gonna turn into something more dark, something that's gonna be more action driven, but it's also going to allow Roman to have some more growth in the future. So we're not think Roman's going to retire anytime soon, but I will see him start to take more of the role that his cousin The Rock has done.
So, I mean, according to honestly his own words, though, I mean, Roman basically said that, in a matter of speaking, if he drops the title, that according to his contract, he's going to retire. Now, we don't know when, but I think that given the amount of character work that Roman has had as far as heel, I think he is going to be grooming. I think Solo will take over the bloodline. Clearly, Jimmy's out, so Jimmy might get drafted to Raw and go back with his brother. I don't think they should tag because I think Jey Uso is perfectly fine on his own. You can't be main event Jey Uso with a tag brother who's just bloodline leftover Jimmy Uso. So, we don't, who knows? Because honestly, given the fact that Jimmy basically got excommunicated essentially from the bloodline, now what's left for him? I think the bloodline over the next 6 months will be way different. I think it'll be more aggressive. Like you said, it'll be more dark. I think Roman will eventually kind of fizzle off. I don't want him to, because realistically, the amount of star power he has, he might only show up a handful of times, but love him or hate him, you'll put your one up, right? And so I think that he is going to create a monster in Solo. Solo has it. He has the it factor. He has the same face every week. He's really worked hard on that face. And so, when he's just sitting here and it's just, like
I don't
that,
see
honestly,
him. I don't see Solo as like Solo doesn't do it for me. Now
I
Tama
mean,
does. And Tama checks the boxes of a world champion, but they probably wouldn't put it on him, and
no.
because it would take away from the overarching of we're gonna eventually start this Roman Reigns redemption saga in like a while. I could see this all playing out to a bigger story. Solo just comes off as like off as a
He's
heavy.
right. He's more of a, I mean, they call him the enforcer, so he's kind of more of like a bouncer, basically. So he's like, I guess that would, that does make sense, but it's like, how are you going to groom someone out the gate that, unless you've broadened your spectrum of watching wrestling, you don't know who these people are. Obviously, the Samoan bloodline is deeper than freaking any other bloodline, in its
Oh yeah.
entirety,
So
So
yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, they've got cousins everywhere. And by the way, if you haven't taken a moment, Rikishi actually dropped a rap um, about the Samoan bloodline. It was an old Wu-Tang Clan song, and all right, so now Rikishi can rap. So I mean, who else is going to put out
I
another
mean, he has the
in the
moves,
family?
man.
I mean, he does. I mean, so yeah. I mean, but so it's a fun listen, and it's just like, oh, all right, what else is next? So yeah,
What can't Rikishi
this
do?
whole bloodline, yeah, what can't he do? And kids. So there's four more kids that are probably just waiting in the wings. So the dynasty continues definitely. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a long season of who's not and who is, and a lot of Samoans in the WWE will be eating quite well for a while.
yeah, and I think I think this the not even just the bloodline like faction whatever, but like I think the Samoan bloodline in its entirety is, I feel like when, again, we're in this Triple H Paul Levesque era, I definitely think there's going to be some crap coming out of the woodworks that none of us are going to expect.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a storm that is eventually going to come, but you don't know when it's going to come. And
True,
like
true.
that's
Right.
the biggest thing about wrestling is like those moments where you don't know, like, because even like when Cody came back, it was so rumored that he was coming back. Yeah, it was still exciting when me and Tim went to WrestleMania that year and like still seeing it come. But like I feel like in the Triple H era, man, we're gonna have surprises left, right. Just it's gonna come at us, a mile a minute, and I'm looking forward to it just because you can already see the different production value that Triple H is bringing, being the head of creative. And so man,
He
it
does
is
have
going
a
to
great
be,
mindset.
well, it's because, I mean, dude, I'd put Triple H in at least the conversation, of Mount Rushmore. Maybe our Mount Rushmore has like 10, but like, I think that he's a strong-willed, he's very smart, he's very wrestling intelligent. He listens to the fans.
Right.
And so we're not gonna get the Vinnie Mac, where it was like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do and you're gonna do it. You're just gonna, like now with
No.
Triple H, they're getting more creative direction. They're kind of able to, be more creative with their characters and stuff like that. And I'm amped.
I totally agree. I like that they're giving the superstars more of a chance to do what they want with their characters, not have paper shoved in their face and like, this is how your character's supposed to be. No, they're letting them actually run with their own characters.
So now, what do we think
Yeah,
about?
I would agree.
So now, what do we
Yep,
think about
that's it.
No, like no, like when they after the Bray Wyatt special and everything, and Bo Dallas and everything,
Oh
you
god,
know,
that brought a tear
yeah,
to my eyes.
yeah, no, that was it was a tearjerker, dude. But like, what are we gonna see out of Bo Dallas and the returning Alexa Bliss at some point? You know, what are those two going to coincide, and are we going to get kind of another, you know, basically the out of the mind of Bray Wyatt?
I've been noticing like bands are recording when they go to commercial breaks, and they're playing this new creepy type of music leading into a Bo Dallas return as Uncle Howie or whatever character he's gonna come
Yeah,
up in his mind. Hopefully, it's something really good.
yeah, and
This is a hot take. Bray Wyatt didn't do it for me. I, you know, it's a tragedy that we lost a very creative individual. But yeah, Bray Wyatt didn't do it for me. So what I like about was the creativity and his determination to tell stories, even in an oppressive, creatively oppressive environment, and is able to get people engaged with the story and journey of the characters. However, for me,
well, I mean,
it
it's
didn't engage me. It was just like, oh. Now I remember Papa Shango and the Ultimate Warrior and all of that. So, and I lived through that, and it was kind of like, why is this pro wrestling? But at the same time, it was still like, ooh, this is kind of different. So I'm gonna sit back and I'm kind of going to watch how they deal with the aftermath of Bray Wyatt and you know Wyndham Rotunda, and dealing with this legacy that he's left behind. But never going to it's never going to have the same energy because the person that made that such a reading energy many people is gone now, unless he left some type of playbook or notebook that they can like decipher and put together, kind of
I'm
have where they can go.
I'm sure I'm
I think
definitely
it
I'm
might
definitely
fall
sure just
flat.
watching him. I definitely think he has a
Yeah.
playbook though. I mean, just watching the
Oh yeah.
special and just like, just the amount of information packed into how he produced, like the Firefly Funhouse stuff, and like he was very engaged in everything of his character. And so, there's definitely a little black book, with just more ideas, maybe not as to the level of the Fiend, but I definitely think he has some gems left in the book for us to see in the near future. You know, and and I think that just given how long wrestling's gone on, you know, every bit is not going to impress or be impressed upon every fan. Like that's the reality.
Right.
You're never going to make everyone love you, you know. Given his passing, I feel like it was more of a unification of just like the legacy that he left as far as the fans coming together and the Firefly, that you see out in the stadiums and stuff like that. Even across, even just not even just wrestling fans, but just people in general. You've seen it at like different like soccer games of like sporting events and stuff that they did it, and it was an homage to who he was. He was more than just the Fiend. He was more than just Bray Wyatt. Like he was a good person, and I feel like his passing
Yeah.
Everyone felt it, and so, I feel like, when you see them as a person versus a wrestler, because as a wrestler you're a character, but as a person you're just you. And the last couple episodes, what shows he was on was just Wyndham being Wyndham. There was no character there. That was just the raw person, and he expressed all of the things in life, the difficulties, the anxiety, the depression, because at the end of the day, I don't care what celebrity you are, you're not free from anxiety, depression, or any mental illness. You're not. So I think that speaks to him as the person, that he was very open and shared that with us. But yeah, I mean, and so, we'll kind of continue to see, kind of back to the, the Raw SmackDownish talk, but like, we'll kind of continue week to week, see how Backlash is gonna look. It is kind of the international PLE tour, so I definitely think that's cool. I definitely, the fact that, they're expanding, even more internationally. I mean, everything from Australia to now, France. And I feel like that's super cool that, like, people that, sometimes, other, other countries, you kind of get your own small promotion wrestling. But like when you get to WWE come to your country, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
As long as they don't bring WrestleMania out of the US.
And who knows?
They might.
That would be that would be fun. I would say for them, wouldn't it be amazing to see how they would pull off WrestleMania in another country?
I mean,
if we were to do a fantasy booking, I would say night 1 is in one country, night 2 is in the US, and or vice versa, and be able to like celebrate it as this international thing. I that would probably be the way that they would enter if they were to do something like that, but also to on a WWE event that is always in the US, because
oh yeah, it's one of the thing
WWE's
is,
headquarters in the US and bred, so yeah.
yeah. All right, well, we'll get back to you next week with more talk of Raw, SmackDown, future booking. This is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.